Hello and welcome to Demian Allen's Astrology and Tarot channel. Here's a quick video on the recent pandemic, and the title is "Where Has the Pandemic Astrologically Hit You?" This is purely from observation of working with clients over the last year and a half and how it's affected them, which areas of the life has it affected, and which planets are the culprits to this, what we can do with this pandemic in terms of how it's affected us and how to turn a negative into a positive. So this is a quick video just to show you some of the insights and some of the knowledge that I've picked up and what I'm using to describe what has caused the biggest concerns in clients' lives to do with the pandemic. So one of the main things that is to talk about is the fact that what planet rules the pandemic. And there's over the internet, there's loads of possibilities that we can look at. Some people say it's Pluto, some people say it's the Saturn, some people say it's eclipses, and I kind of agree with all of them, right? It's a combination of many astrological aspects. But in astrology, I always look for sort of where's the constant aspect, you know, what's been the most stable combination. And interestingly enough, for me, it's Uranus, which is a bit ironic since it's, you know, nature is unpredictable. But you find this in astrology, and particularly modern astrology, that Uranus is quite a planet that seems to, you know, be very good on the predictive side. Now, so Uranus in Taurus, so Uranus is an 84-year cycle, spends 7 years in each sign of the zodiac. And we can go back to the Great Depression in the 1940s as the last time that Uranus is in Taurus. So we know that, you know, Uranus does not work particularly well in Taurus. And in modern astrology, you know, Uranus is meant to be, you know, exalted in Scorpio and in its fall in Taurus. But if you look at the nature of Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury, in the earth sign, the fixed earth sign of Taurus, it's a combination that doesn't really work. You know, the bull is not going to be told what to do, and Uranus wants to tear up the old structures. And one of the things that the Taurian symbolism is a lot to do with, you know, agriculture and the body and what we put into the body, i.e. food. And therefore, since the pandemic started, there's been two planetary combinations that have sustained, which is Uranus in Taurus and Pluto in Capricorn. Well, Pluto in Capricorn has been there since 2008. But Uranus in Taurus is sort of hung around back and forth since 2018. And to me, you know, when it started, which is sort of, and I'm getting debatable, maybe early 2020, Uranus was sort of firmly ingressed into Taurus. So we can kind of assume that, right, okay, that's been a definitely a stabilizing part of this. It's you know, it was right at the beginning, you know, at around about 2 degrees in January 2020. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you want to look at Uranus being the factor of how this has affected you in the pandemic, there's 2 words that I want to bring about with Uranus. One is the word of disruption, and fundamentally, a pandemic disrupts. What it's done is it's disrupted your everyday life. The second word that I associate with Uranus, and there's many words, but these are the 2 I'm going to pick out, is awakenings. So an awakening of different value system, a different way of living your life. So one of the things to look out for is what Uranus is doing natally in your chart when you were born, and what Uranus is doing by transit in the sky, and which house are those two placed. So this will give you an indication of where the disruption is and where the awakening is. So for example, let's say you had Uranus natally in your 4th house. I'm using the whole sign house system. That would mean that the disruption caused by the pandemic might be to do with 4th house matters, property, home life, ancestral lineage, the father. And let's say that the transit of Uranus was placed in the 7th house. So you had a natal placement of 4th house, 7th house Uranus by transit. That means that the awakening could be in the idea of relationships, you know, your partner, or how you value relationships, what do you want out of a relationship. This is the thing about it, is that you have disruption, which is where how's it going to affect you, the pandemic, which is the natal, and the awakening, which is going to be the transit. Now, if we take the example of what I've just said about the 4th and the 7th, that's a natural square. So there's going to be tension between those two going on. And there's always a disruption with Uranus. There's always a sort of bolt of lightning that suddenly goes, hang on here, I've got to make a change, haven't I? It's going to be forced on me. And there's always an awakening with Uranus as well, seeing things from a different perspective. And it's kind of interesting when you look at this dynamic that's going on. I found this with clients that saying, well, you know, you've got a natal Uranus in a 10th house. Has a disruption being with work? For most people it has. But it might be that they changed a career, or they've got a transit of Uranus in the 10th house and their career has changed because of the pandemic. So there's two words: disruption, awakening. And I think this is the thing. We can look at the different planetary aspects to do with, you know, Saturn, Pluto, eclipses, but Uranus is the constant in this. And I'm doing this video because Uranus is about to go retrograde for the rest of the year. So, you know, obviously for many of us who have had the disruption awakening, perhaps we're going back into where we've been before, particularly last year, in some of the themes, some of the ideas, some of the seeds that we want to plant for the future. So it's an important time. It's going back into what motivated us, what was the disruption, what was the awakening of values. And I think this is really kind of important. And I've looked at, into this, and as I said, through observation, through practical, doing consultations with clients, and it seems to be pretty constant in people. So it's worth looking at your own chart, looking at where Uranus is placed natally, and looking at where Uranus is transiting and the houses. The 1st house, you know, is to do with the body, you know, you the person, you are the vehicle, how you respond to life. The 2nd house is the financial aspect. The 3rd house, communication, you know, short distance travel. 4th house is the home, you know, the father, property. 5th house is children, so maybe, you know, children being really disrupted, you know, creativity. 6th house is working environments, health, pets, small pets. 7th house is relationships, business or romantic, or the house of other people. 8th house is other people's money, your partner's money, maybe that's been disrupted, awakening values. 9th house is to do with higher education, philosophies, spirituality, astrology, long distance travel. 10th house is ambition, you know, how you're seen in society through the work that you do or the career that you do. Authority figures. 10th house is, you know, the collective, your friendships, societies, clubs. And 12th house is the house of spirituality, house of self-undoing, but you know, the house of dreams. So it's looking at where that Uranus is placed in your chart, natally, and by transit will just give you an idea of where the disruption, where the pandemic astrology has hit you, and it will give you a really good insight into that. And of course, look at the aspects that the particularly the natal Uranus makes, will give you an idea of how you respond to that, how you respond to change, where it's placed in your natal chart. And obviously by transit, is it hitting other planets in your chart? So there's a lot to delve into, but just a little insight into just helping you understand this pandemic from an astrological level. Anyway, I hope that's helped, and I will speak to you all very soon.